have a lot more space for improvising, and you guys did a great job with it. By the way, let me introduce myself. My name's Seth Parker. I'm saxophonist, obviously, down in the Austin area. Did my doctorate at UT in jazz studies. Prior to that, I lived in New York City for 5 years and studied with John Patitucci, a great bass player, a couple of great saxophone players, originally from North Carolina before that. You're going to hear a lot of comments. You know, the judges up there, you know, we can hear each other talking, and I heard them talking about some of the stylistic things with the tower power thing. So I'm not going to worry about going into some of those things. You can listen to the comments and whatnot. Which one is it that we have some kind of open blowing on? Is it the Don't Mean a Thing? Where's that solo section start? 47? So, what I thought I would talk about is just, you guys all have a lot of really happening things going on in your playing. Number one, great sounds, great time feel. And let me tell you, those two things, 90% of your solo is going to be time and sound. You can play wrong notes left and right. If you do it with good time and good sound, it's gonna come out sounding really pretty decent. And I'll prove that to you later. What I've noticed, if I had to point out a weak spot, would be in our rhythmic vocabulary. You know, a lot of times as soloists, we get so caught up on making sure that we play the right notes that we forget about playing rhythms that are interesting. Or like, oh, you know, I want to play a flat 9 over that chord or something like to make the harmony interesting. And then we forget that we can make the solo interesting with rhythm as well. We may forget that. They don't forget that. What I noticed was that there was almost like this line, this imaginary wall, if you will, that don't look at my socialist propaganda on my case with my Bernie Sanders stickers. There was this imaginary wall where you guys were soloing and you guys were playing rhythm section, and neither of the two show meet, right? You know, and we were using the rhythm section like an Ebersol. You know, I'm sure you guys have done some Ebersol play-alongs, right? Where you play, or maybe go to YouTube or whatever, play along with a pre-recorded rhythm section. The beauty of this is they're not pre-recorded, all right? And we want to use them more and give them information, which they then give us back. We want to have a conversation with the rhythm section during our solo session. That's going to give you guys more to play off of. You gotta, pardon my French, a kick-ass drummer here, you know, and he's got ears, he's listening, he's waiting for something to go, oh, I can play along with that. And sometimes it doesn't happen because we're focused on now, that had some rhythm in it because of the accents, but otherwise, what was I playing? Just a string of 8 notes, right? Same thing with the pianist. The pianist is sitting in here just kind of like, you know, playing the same rhythms over and over again because there's nothing that he's hearing that says, I want to play with that, right? Now, do you guys do any other stuff, like, do you play blues? Do you play a blues sometimes?
We do.
Where we can all maybe improvise instead of one of these? Is that true?
We do.
If we work on something like that?
Absolutely.
So let's do that. I think your band director and you guys have done a great job with working on the pieces. You've got some great comments. In order to really talk about improvisation, I think we should get something a little more comfortable, like a blues that we can work out. So what's a blues? Do you guys know ahead? Like a melody for a blues? What key do you like? B flat, F? F? I like F too. F is my favorite. All right, so let's play an F blues, and let's do this. Let's have the rhythm section take a chorus up front, let them get comfortable, and then who wants to take the first solo?
Let's start down with the trombone.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so rhythm section. Let's give them something around right here. 1, 2. did that on purpose because as you start taking longer solos, what happens? You run out of predetermined ideas, like the things that you're comfortable with, and all of a sudden you're forced to come up with something new. So what we were just talking about over here was, there was one point you had a really nice idea, a motive that went ba-dood up and boot up and boot up and boot up, and instead of just kind of, keep playing the regular thing, you want to try to support what he did. Now that doesn't mean you have to play the exact idea, and the same thing in the drums, but one thing you might do is catch part of it. So you hear him go ba-dood up, and you go, oh, that's a good idea, that and of 2 or and of 4, so maybe just catch the end of 2 and the end of 4. Even if he doesn't play the ending that way, when you guys, so the hard thing about being a rhythm section player is you've got to be in communication with each other and with the soloist, so that you form this one cohesive unit that then plays with this person, right? So you guys are constantly looking back and forth at each other, so that if something happens like that, it's like, oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's catch that idea, all right? And can I give you one, what's your name? Elise. Really, I used to play with a fantastic bass player named Elisa for, that kind of scared me a minute. Yeah. So, I want you to do a couple of things for me. Start walking a bass line. Good. I want you to move the right hand further down. And I want, instead of the fingertips, can you maybe try just the first finger and really dig and pull? Yeah, you see, hear how much more sound you got out of it? Right? Now, I'm a really, really crappy bass player, but let me give you a little idea. And you'll notice that I have some double truncations, very small. But I can take my entire finger and really, pull the string to the side. Don't watch this hand. This hand doesn't know what it's doing, but you know what I'm saying? Like, really dig in and pull on that. The further you're down here, the more sound you're gonna get. Up here, this is actually, fine technique. Down here, you hear how tinny it gets, but doing them down really. Try that a little bit. See, and this is a long-term goal, but see if we can get a little more sound out. I also hear better articulation in the note whenever you do that. I can actually hear which pitch it is that you're doing. You wanna give it another shot? And then we'll move on to someone else. Here we go. Top of the blues. 1, 2, you know what to do. And. That sounds cool. Steal it. It's the only way to make it happen. Next. Who's up next? Another trombone? 1, 2, 10. Thank you. 2, a 1, 2, ready, hit it. Something that happened that I tried to do on purpose in there that might have been different than the way that I ended it. In fact, it was exactly in contrast to the way that I ended it.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Like you weren't like just playing really fast notes all the time.
In fact, I wasn't even playing a whole lot of different notes, right? There was at one point that I even just picked one note, and what did I do instead of trying to play a bunch of different notes? I just focused on the rhythm, and all of a sudden, what built? It was like intensity that built, right? Development. Do you guys, are you familiar with Sonny Rollins? Right? I've never been, I have a confession. I've never been a huge Sonny Rollins fan. Obviously, he's a great, and he's a master. I was more of a Coltrane guy, right? But here's a Sonny Rollins recording called Live at the Village Vanguard, right? You can go find it on YouTube or whatever, buy it if you can, because he's still alive. And that'll contribute, hopefully, to his coffers. But there's a track on there called Sunny Moon for Two. Anybody ever heard that one? He plays about 7 choruses of the blues with 2 notes. And it's the most interesting blues solo you'll ever hear. And it's literally just like one note, and then, you know, kind of drifts off from it, but always keeps coming back, and it's not even an interesting note. It's tonic, it's the root of the chord. It's an F in the key of F. But it's the rhythm that builds the intensity. And that way, whenever he goes, how much cooler does that all sound whenever it's in contrast to something like just a single note, right? Here's another version of this kind of concept of limiting the note information and working more with rhythm. Can we play blues together for a second? Come on. This is what I call the two-note idea, right? I'm gonna try to make an idea. Now, when I talk about an idea, I'm talking about a motive, and this is not very different than, say, like a, Johann Sebastian Bach or something, where he would take these tiny little motives and write an entire piece of music out of it. I'm gonna choose two notes, and thank you, and I'm going to try to stick to those two notes as long as I can, and then whenever I do depart from it, I'm still going to try to keep the idea of two notes as the main focus of my concept. 1, 2, you like to do. Sequence it. How about if I just turn it around and instead of just flipping the interval, right? It's still that. And did you hear a bunch of wrong notes in there? Did they sound bad? Oh, there was a bunch of wrong notes in there. I did them on purpose. I went. These are weird notes, but as long as you play them in time and within the idea, right? Concept of the motive, then they make sense because the idea is so strong you can get away with playing whatever pitch on top of it that you want to. Does that make sense? What's kind of going on? Do you guys have any questions? I know we're running out of time here, and we could go on like this for days. But specific questions that you might have? Yeah.
What does practice mean to you for improvisation?
For improvisation, so those are the kind of, first of all, I spent a lot of time, and when I say lots of time, I'm talking about like 6 hours a day for about 3 or 4 years going. And just playing scales, and playing not even interesting patterns in scales, the exact same pattern for a long time on scales. Then I started manipulating patterns and playing intervals of scales. Right? Or widening the intervals and doing that kind of stuff. Other types of practice that I do are specific to, if I'm going to learn a tune, I need to learn the chord changes. So I'll learn the guide tones of the tune, the root of the tune, the melody. I mean, the most important thing is getting that melody into my fingers. I worked a lot on sound, just getting a good sound. Because like I said, you can play with a good sound and good time, you can get away with a lot more when you're uncomfortable in a tune. I worked on my time feel, and that meant that I played a lot with a metronome, and I did a lot of stuff. I used to sit on the train in New York. Pat Tucci gave me this exercise where you'd have to walk around the room playing 6/8 clave. Okay, so you know what a clave is? It's kind of like a a backbeat type thing, right? Well, in the original, like 6/8 clave would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's one time through, so 2 times of it. Okay, so then we would have to walk around the room doing this for a while, and then, and all the time, the metronome was hitting on beats 1 and 3, 1 and 4, what my feet are doing right now. So while that's happening, we were to then change our feet to the 2nd and 5th 8th notes of it, which is real hard. And now I'm back on the 1 and the 4. Easier to do without a metronome, really hard to do when the metronome is still hitting on 1 and 4. So I'd sit on the train, and there's a lot of crazy people in New York, and I look like one of them because I'd be doing. While I had a metronome in my ear, in my earphones. So, you know, when I didn't have a horn in my hand, I was still trying to practice something that would make my playing better. Time was that thing. You know, at this point, and I used to practice a lot. I used to practice 4, 5, 6 hours a day for many years, and then, you know, life hit, and I didn't have as much time to do that. I do a lot of practicing in my head now, and what I mean by that is I'll listen. I listen to recordings, and I listen to music. I listen to other musicians play, and I hear it because I've done a lot of ear training practice as well, and I hear it and I go, what was that they were just playing? Oh, that was. Wow, that was like a pentatonic pattern but built off of the 2nd scale degree of that mode or whatever. Man, I should really learn that. So then I go home and, you know, I'm laying in bed at night, not able to sleep, and in my head I'm practicing that pattern in all 12 keys on my saxophone, you know, so that the next time that I do pick up my horn, you know, if I'm warming up or whatever, then I'm gonna go, okay, well that's like a C7. With a D pentatonic with a flat 6. And then I have just like little patterns that I'll do where it's, you know, play it just like a scale. Where I play like thirds of it even though it's not real thirds. So it's, I mean, there's a lot of different things to practice. There's never a lack of things to practice. You know, I've been playing this instrument since I was 11. I'm 38 almost, and I'm still like, I mean, I'm talking to the other saxophone judges, the guys who are saxophone judges. I'm going, how do you articulate in the low register? I need help with that. You know, I mean, those are, you know, which it doesn't sound like I do, but whenever I pick up a piece of classical saxophone music, which I still practice classical saxophone, I have a degree in classical as well. You know, it's like I have a hard time articulating in the low register. I also play a mouthpiece that sucks for that, but, you know. Great, thank you. Did that get to it somewhat? If you got other questions, we can talk, and I've got a little break here, so, thanks, guys. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really fantastic job. Thank you.
All right, so we'll head back.